Las injerencias rusas no han surtido sus efectos. La escuchamos.
Cred că avem nevoie de mai mult timp să discutăm despre greșelile noastre. Trebuie să fim foarte riguroși, pentru că democrația o putem pierde peste noapte dacă legea nu se aplică. Și am văzut în această campanie, instituțiile și-au făcut treaba mult mai bine decât data trecută. În special, data trecută am avut acțiuni mai modeste, ca să spun așa, din partea procurorilor și de asta nu s-au putut opri aceste scheme de cumpărare a voturilor. În această campanie, toate instituțiile au acționat conform legii, fără frică și am văzut rezultatul foarte diferit. Pentru că e clar că în această campanie nu s-au cumpărat atât de multe voturi. Nu putem să spunem dacă nu s-au cumpărat deloc, dar nu s-au cumpărat atât de multe voturi. Deci, lupta împotriva corupției, consolidarea instituțiilor care trebuie să combată corupția, reforma justiției, sunt elemente cheie. Statul de drept este element cheie pentru ca să construim o democrație puternică.
Mulțumesc. Vă mulțumim și avem întrebări din partea presei internaționale. France Press, vă rog.
You've pointed several times to the Russian interference in these elections, that it was massive, the biggest in the history of the country. Do you consider, do you assess, considering the results, that this effort failed, and if it failed, why?
Yes, I do believe that Russia has not achieved its objectives. It has spent a lot of money in these elections. But the results show that they failed, and it failed because of the joint efforts of the state institutions, of the media, of the press, of the civil society. So it was really a response by the entire society to these attempts by Russia to interfere. And you have seen investigations by the national, by the local press, you have seen investigations by the international press. We have proof of the money that Russia spent or wanted to spend. And of course, we have proof of attempts to bribe the voters in different regions of the country.
If I can follow up, do you expect Russia to step up its efforts regarding Moldova?
It's not going to be that easy because we don't have elections in the next few years, and the country is more vulnerable when you have elections and when Russia interferes with massive disinformation campaigns, with campaigns to frighten people, of course, with vote bribing and stuff like that. We do understand that Russia is not going to stop, but we do believe that it does not have now the opportunity to interfere as much as during the elections.
Thank you. BBC.
Hi, I just had a couple of questions if I could. I first of all wanted to ask a little bit about the criticism around this vote and some of the protests about it. We saw that it was very difficult for people from Transnistria to vote in this election. They had to go a very long way. There were lots of extra security checks. There were very few polling stations in Russia, and a few other criticisms. I just wanted to ask you, is it more important for you to win the vote or to win clean? What do you say about the criticism? And then I wanted to ask you another question, if I may, after that, about the Russian involvement.
Well, of course, it's the democracy is clean, should be clean. And the elections that we fought for clean elections. How would you see the situation when, over the last 20 years, the genuine vote from the Transnistrian region is 15 to 20,000, and then suddenly, and you hear from the regime in Tiraspol that people from the Transnistrian region should not participate in the elections on the right bank of Dnistru because they don't recognize Transnistria being part of Moldova. And then suddenly they're all concerned about, hundreds of thousands of people that need to vote. How would you see the situation when none of the political parties or the political parties which are not supported by Russia are not allowed to go to the Transnistrian region and to campaign. How would you ensure a proper democratic process? It is very clear to us that, and we have done our best to provide the conditions for the people from the Transnistrian region who have been genuinely participating in the election process for the last, as I said, 15 to 20 years to come and vote, and they have been able to do that. But when Russia organizes a massive vote buying scheme, it's easier for Russia to do it on the left bank of Dnistru because the Moldovan police is not allowed to go there. The Moldova Anti-Corruption Center is not allowed to go there. So how do you make sure that this is the decision of the Moldovans and not the decision paid by Russia? It's not an easy question, but let's look at the figures we had in the past and let's look at the genuine vote.
Thanks. I want to just ask more broadly about the geopolitical kind of context this is taking place in. You've talked about this and quite clearly as being a historic vote and Moldova making a decisive choice for Europe. How sure can you be that this is the decisive choice, and how sure are you that the Kremlin has given up trying to knock you off that path?
Unfortunately, Moldova decided to join EU and is taking serious steps towards EU in a period when Russia is very aggressive. Other countries were luckier and they started their EU integration process when Russia was less aggressive and was busy with its internal domestic issues. Of course, it is much more difficult for us. We haven't seen that much interference by Russia when other countries were joining EU. And that's why the referendum last year was so difficult for us, because there was a massive propaganda, anti-EU propaganda financed by Kremlin. That's why the elections this year, of course, it's not going to be easy. We do understand that Russia is not going to change its attitude towards EU, and what Russia is doing today in Moldova is not only about Moldova, it's against EU first of all. But we want to keep this country stable, we want to keep this country part of the free world, and no matter how difficult it is, and no matter how big the pressure from Moscow is and will be, we will continue, because we believe in peace, and EU is a peace project, because we believe in freedom and democracy, and that's the choice of the Moldovan people.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have a question from Swedish television, please.
Madam President, Russian hybrid influence operations target also large parts of Europe today, including my country, Sweden. What lessons of countering it and perhaps somehow also defeating it in this election have you learned that you can pass on to your European colleagues?
I do believe it should be a joint effort of the entire society, because it's one thing when the police works hard and identifies these corruption schemes, but it's very useful when the free media also works on that, because then the citizens could see, not just what the state is saying about that, but what the free media is saying about that, because Russia is really trying to target the trust. Russia is trying to make people not to trust the state institutions, to accuse us of lying and saying that we're just inventing this. But then when you manage to have this joint effort of the society, this is the only way to deal with it. But it's not easy for a small country like Moldova, and not only because Russia just has a lot of money dedicated to such activities, and it's difficult for us to match with the response with the same kind of dimension. We can share with you many lessons, and my colleagues in the government will be able to elaborate on that, on very specific areas of intervention by Russia. but we also need to work together and learn from each other. How do we fight disinformation? What do you do about the social platforms? For instance, we have proof that Telegram was used to build these networks for vote bribing. Last year, when we reported to Telegram that this is happening, that the platform is being used to bribe voters, we had some responses, yes, just a few days before the elections, but we had some responses. This year, we had no responses from Telegram, even though it's clear that vote buying is not about democracy. So how do we go about these issues? And of course, maybe vote buying is not an issue which will concern your country, but there might be other things. As we could see the investigation of the press, that Russia was hiring people in Moldova, training them to produce false information and then to spread this false information. And again, the platforms are being used for that. How do we go about it? These are questions that we need to find solutions together.
Do you feel that Moldova withstood the test this time?
Yes, I do believe that we managed to resist this huge interference by Russia, and I'm actually very proud of the Moldovans.
Thank you very much. We have a question from Deutsche Welle, please.
Thank you, President. It's Rosie Burchard for DW. The European Union has a track record of leaving aspirant members stuck in the waiting room. Your own bid has been stalled in a bit of institutional deadlock over disagreements on Ukraine, for example. So do you have faith that if you do the work, Brussels will keep up its side of the bargain? What's your message to other EU capitals?
Moldova moved very fast on its EU integration agenda. Of course, we started very late compared to other countries, but we submitted the application in March 2022, and we have made significant steps since then. I do believe in meritocracy. I do understand that the geopolitics can change, and sometimes this can become an impediment, but we are determined to work very hard. We do have positive reports from Brussels on the steps that we have made so far, and we will do our best not to miss this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Și mai avem o întrebare de la Veronica Gerbeveschi, fără filtre. Vă rog.
Doamna președintă, 55 de mandate, am impresia că nu a prezis nici măcar un sondaj intern, să-mi ziceți dacă este așa, și înțelegem că e o majoritate foarte clară, care are un mandat foarte puternic. Am văzut voci, temeri, inclusiv eu, am temerea că această victorie ar putea să zicem așa, pentru următorii deputați care vor ajunge în Parlament, ar putea să deranjeze și dimpotrivă, să creeze o euforie în rândul lor. Cum credeți, ce mesaj puteți să le transmiteți deputaților PAS ca să se țină pe pământ în viitorul mandat?
Precedenții 4 ani nu cred că au permis cuiva să se simtă relaxați, pentru că au fost foarte grei. Pentru că ne-am confruntat cu tare multe crize și, din păcate, nu cred că lucrurile se vor liniști la nivel regional și chiar la nivel global în următoarea perioadă. Eu cred că trebuie să fim conștienți că nu va fi simplu, că avem multe probleme de rezolvat. Oamenii care și-au câștigat mandatul de deputat în aceste săptămâni și nu doar, au avut ocazia să discute cu multă lume, au auzit comentarii și de bine și că ar trebui să fie și mai bine. Și toate aceste lucruri, contextul foarte dificil regional în care suntem, crizele prin care trecem, dar și feedback-ul de la cetățeni, eu cred că sunt o bază solidă care să determine deputații să muncească. Și eu sper că toți deputații, nu doar cei dintr-un partid, vor munci pentru Republica Moldova.
Vă mulțumim, doamna președinte, vă mulțumim, stimați colegi, thank you very much. Aici conferința de presă i-a sfârșit. O zi bună tuturor!
Mulțumesc, o zi bună să aveți!